In this video, we're going to talk all about equations, and your foldable for all about equations is going to be glued onto page 16. Now, let's just go into a few key vocabulary words first. So an equation is made up of an expression and it equals another expression. So for instance here, your expression on the left side of your equal sign would be 3x minus 12, and your expression on the right side would equal 9. Now, to go over a few more vocabulary words, we have the word term. So, a term consists of a coefficient and a variable. So, here, this would be your term. So, like I mentioned, a term consists of a coefficient and a variable. So, here, the number in front of x, would be your coefficient. And any variable, a variable is a placeholder for a number. And typically you will see variables as letters in math. And in this year, the most common variable you've seen is x. So here, x is a variable. Now, the rest of any additional numbers in your expressions and equations are known as your constants. So these are just numbers without any variables. So here, negative 12 would be a constant, and 9 would also be a constant. So again, a term consists of a coefficient and a variable. A constant is just a plain number without any variables. And on each side of the equal sign, we have what are known as expressions. So when we have an expression and it equals another expression, it creates an equation. So we're going to go ahead and look at a few examples. And the first thing we're actually going to talk about is modeling equations. Now we're going to go ahead and look at number 1. So for number 1, it says we are modeling equations. So we're going to circle the name of the student who correctly wrote the equation modeled below. So here they've given us a picture and we are literally seeing how many ones and how many x's we have, and we're creating an equation. So since this scale is balanced, this means that the left side of our scale is equal to the right side of our scale. So if we look at the left side of our scale, I'm going to count how many ones I have. I have 1, 2 ones. If I have 2 ones, that means I have 2 on the left side, and this equals the right side. And if I look at the right side, I'm going to start off by counting how many x's I have. I have 1x, and if you see, it is negative. So here I have negative x, and then I'm going to count my ones. And I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 ones, and they are negative. So this is going to be minus 8. So starting off, let's see what I can eliminate. On the left side, I should only have a constant of 2. So I can eliminate Benny and I can eliminate Asia because they both have x. They both have an x with the 2, and there should not be an x with the 2. Now, on the right side, I have to have x as negative and 8 as negative as well. And if that's the case, then here, Jean is my answer. Also remember that you can switch. It does not have to be in this exact order that we put our x's and our constants. If you look here at Jean's equation, they put the constant first, and then they went ahead and put the variable. So that was number 1. Let's go ahead and look at number 2. So for number 2, we want to write an equation for the model below. So again, we're just interpreting what we see on the scale. And again, since this scale is balanced, this means that both sides are equal to each other. So we're going to start off by looking at the left side. So when we look at the left side of our scale, we have 1, 2, 3 x's. So I'm going to write 3x. And on the left side, I also have 1, 2 ones, and they are negative. So if I have 2 ones and they're negative, I'm going to be subtracting 2. And this is equal to the right side of my scale. Now on the right side of my scale, I have 1, 2, 3, 4 ones. So I'm just going to set this equation equal to 4. So here the equation that models this is 3x minus 2 equals 4. Let's continue. We're going to go ahead and now look at number 3. So for number 3, we are going to write and solve an equation for the model below. So to begin, again, since this scale is balanced, both sides of the scale are equal to each other. So let's start off by looking at the left side of our scale. On the left side of our scale, we have 1, 2, 3 negative x's. So on the left side, I have negative 3x. And then I have 1, 2, 3 negative 1's. So I'm going to subtract 3. And this is equal to the right side of my scale. And on the right side of my scale, I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 negative 1's. So on the right side, this is going to equal negative 6. Now, this was the first part. We wrote the equation. Now we have to solve the equation. So on this equation, all of my x's are already on the left side. The first thing I'm going to go ahead and do is actually draw a line down the equal sign. And now I want to see what is being added or subtracted to x. I want to look at my constant. And the constant here that is being added or subtracted is 3. And whatever the constant is doing, I want to do the opposite of that. So here, since 3 is being subtracted, to cancel this out and move it over, I'm going to add 3 to the other side. When I add 3, this cancels out. This is going to be dropped down, and I'm left with negative 3x. Then I'm going to take negative 6 plus 3. So in our calculators, whenever we take negative 6 plus 3, we get negative 3. So now that I have my variables on one side and my constants on the other, now I want to see what is being multiplied or divided to my variable here, which is x. So I want to look at that coefficient. So here the coefficient in front of x is negative 3. And I just want my coefficient in front of x to be 1. I want it to be a single value of x. So to get a single value of x, I'm going to divide by the coefficient, which is negative 3. So I'm going to divide by negative 3 on both sides. This cancels out, and I'm left with x equals negative 3 divided by negative 3, which is a positive 1. So here, x equals 1. Okay, now let's go and look at number 4. For number 4, it says, which is a correct model for the equation 2x minus 6 equals 3x plus 3. So the first thing I see is that on the left side, I should have 2x minus 6. So I should essentially have 2 x's on the left side of my equal sign. I see I can automatically eliminate a because I have 6 x's, and I can automatically eliminate d because I have negative 6 x's. So now we're left between b and c, and we're going to go ahead and write the equations that is modeled on each image. So looking at b, I have 2 x's, and I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 negative 1's. So this is minus 6 equals the right side of our equal sign. And on the right side of our equal sign, I have 1, 2, 3 x's, so 3x, plus I have 1, 2, 3's, so plus a positive 3, which seems to match my equation above. However, let's go ahead and look at C. Let's just double check. So on C, I have 1, 2 x's, so this is 2x, plus 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 1's, so plus 6, equals 1, 2, 3 x's, plus 1, 2, 3 1's, so plus 3. Now, the one that's going to correctly model this equation, which is 2x minus 6 equals 3x plus 3, is B. C could have been eliminated because it has a positive 6, and we're supposed to be subtracting 6, so it should have been negative. So now we're going to go ahead and move on to number, this should be number 5, however it was misnumbered, so it is number 6. And we are solving this equation, so we want to know what is the solution to this equation. So first thing we should be doing is drawing a line down the equal sign. Now, since I have variables on both sides of the equal sign, I want to combine these together. And we want to actually go ahead and identify which one of our variables is smaller. So I have negative 2x and a positive 13x. If you look and see which one is smaller, -2 is smaller than 13. So I want to go ahead and move this over. Now, since this is negative, to cancel it out and move it over, I'm going to add 2x to both sides. When I add 2x to both sides, this cancels out. And on the left side, I am left with -23. And this is equal to 13x plus 2x, which is going to equal 15x. And then I'm also going to drop down the plus 22. Now that I have my variable on one side, I want to move my constant over to the other. Now, I need to do this by seeing what is being added or subtracted to x. Well, right now I have 22 being added, so I want to undo this, and I'm going to do the opposite and subtract 22 to both sides. When I do this, this cancels out, and on the right side, I'm left with 15x equals, in your calculators, take -23 minus 22, and we'll get -45. Now, I want to see what is being multiplied or divided to x. Right now, I have 15 multiplying x. So to undo this, I want to get a single value of x. The opposite of multiplication is division. So I'm going to divide by 15 on both sides. This cancels out, and I'm left with x equals -45 divided by 15 is going to give us a -3. So here x equals -3. So now in your calculator, just to double check your work, remember we do know a tool called InSolve. InSolve will solve this equation for us, and it will double check that we got the correct answer. So if you can recall, the command for InSolve is menu 3 1. And once you input that command, now you're going to type in your equation. So our equation here is -2x minus 23 equals 13x plus 22. Now, before you press enter, you have to put a comma. You have to tell your calculator what variable you are solving for. And the variable here we are solving for is x. And when we press enter, we see that our calculator returns back to us -3. So here we have checked this using InSolve. Another way you can check to see if your solution is correct is substituting -3 in for x into your equation. So what I mean by that is you're going to take -3 and we're going to substitute that for x, so -2. I'm going to substitute x with -3, close my parentheses, minus 23 equals 13, open up parentheses, -3 plus 22. And here it returns back to us as true. So we know that variable that we're substituting in for x is correct. Next, let's go ahead and look at number 7. So for number 7, it says which value of x makes the equation below true? So with this type of equation, first things first, I have my variable on one side, and then I only have one variable, and then I have a constant and another constant. Okay, so now looking at number 7, it says which value of x makes the equation below true? So here I have 2/5x plus 10 equals 30. So first thing we want to do is actually go ahead and draw a line down the equal sign. Here I see I only have one variable or one term that has an x in it. So in that case, my x's are already on one side, and now I want to see what is being added or subtracted to x. Here I have 10 being added, so now I want to do the opposite and I want to subtract 10 to both sides. When I subtract 10 to both sides, I'm left with 2/5x equals 30 minus 10, which is 20. So now if you look at the coefficient in front of x, you have a fraction of 2/5. So in order to get a single value of x, we want to actually go ahead and multiply this by the reciprocal. So remember that a reciprocal is basically flipping the numerator and denominator in a fraction. So the reciprocal for 2 over 5 will be 5 over 2. And when we multiply by the reciprocal, your fraction cancels out and you're left with x equals. And remember, if you're multiplying 5 over 2 on one side, you should be multiplying 5 over 2 on the other. So in your calculator, you're going to take 20 times control divide 5 on top and 2 on the bottom. And when you press enter, we see that we get x equals 50. So here, my answer is C. Now again, we're just going to double check our answer by putting in our equation into nsolve. So putting this into nsolve, we're going to take menu 3, 1. And the first thing we have is control divide, 2 on top, 5 on the bottom. We're going to step out of our fraction and put x plus 10 equals 30. And remember, we want to tell our calculator what we're solving for. So we're going to put comma x. And when we press enter, we see here that our answer is 50. Also, another way you could have done this is by substituting x with your answer choices. So what I mean by that is you're going to take, let's go with A. I know our answer is not A, but I'm going to show you what it would look like if it were, if we were to put it or plug in chug as we would call it. So we're going to substitute x with 100. So here I'm going to put control divide, 2 on top, 5 on the bottom. We can step out of our fraction, times 100 plus 10 equals 30. And here our calculator would return to us that it is false. So we know that we could cancel A out and then we would continue going. I'm going to go ahead and now substitute 50 for x, and that way you can see what your calculator would return back to you then. So here we're going to take 2 over 5 times 50 plus 100 equals 30. And here it returns back to you that it is false, and that is because I typed this in incorrectly. Again, it's control divide, 2 on top, 5 on the bottom, times, make sure you step out of your fraction, times 50 plus 10 equals 30. And here you see that it returns back to you as true. So since it returns back to you true, again, your answer is C. Next, let's go ahead and look at number 8. It says the perimeter of the rectangle and triangle shown are equal. What is the value of x? So first thing we're going to be doing is finding the perimeter of both the rectangle and the perimeter of the triangle. And since it says that they are equal to each other, we're going to set the perimeter of our rectangle and triangle equal to each other. So we're going to find the perimeter of the rectangle first. And remember, to find the perimeter of a rectangle, you're adding the sides going around your shape. So first I'm going to take 5x minus 2. And I want to add my next side, which is 3x minus 0.5. Then I want to add again the length, which is 5x minus 2, plus my width again, which is 3x minus 0.5. And this is equal to the perimeter of my triangle. So on the perimeter of my triangle, I have 3 sides. So I have 2x plus 3 plus 2x plus 3 plus my third side, which is 10x minus 5. So here we first need to go ahead and draw a line down our equal sign. And we're going to start off by go ahead and combining like terms. So I'm going to switch this to another color. So we're going to be combining like terms. And when we're combining like terms, the first thing we need to do is regroup. So we're going to put our x's together and then our constants together. So here, first thing I see is I have 5x. So I'm going to rewrite 5x. And then I'm going to see how many other x's I have. I have plus 3x. If we keep going, I have plus 5x. and then plus 3x. Now, I no longer have any more x's on the left side, so now we're going to move over to our constants. So on my constants, I have -2, and whenever you're regrouping, make sure you're taking the sign that's in front of the number. Then I have minus 0.5, then -2, and then minus 0.5. Now let's move over to the right side. Again, we're going to start off by grouping our x's together. So I have 2x plus 2x plus 10x. Now for our constants, we have plus 3, and minus 5. So now that we've grouped everything together, now we're going to go ahead and simplify. So on the left, I have 5x plus 3x plus 5x plus 3x. And when I take 5 plus 3 plus 5 plus 3, we get 16. So I have 16x. Now for my constants, I'm going to take -2 minus 0.5 minus 2 minus 0.5. And when we press enter, we get -5. So here this simplifies to 16x minus 5. And this is equal to the right side. On the right side, I have 2x plus 2x plus 10, which is 14x. And then I want to take my constants. So I have 3 plus 3, which is 6, minus 5, which is 1. So 14x plus 1. So now that we have simplified this into 16x minus 5 and 14x plus 1, I'm going to go ahead and actually rewrite this closer to the equal sign. So now we want to start off by identifying which one of our variables, our terms, is smaller. Is it 14x or is it 16x? 14 is smaller than 16, so I want to go ahead and move this over to the other side, and I'm going to do this by doing the opposite. Since 14x is positive, I want to cancel it out, and I'm going to subtract 14x to both sides. So when I do this, this cancels out, and I'm left with 2x minus 5 equals a positive 1. So I'm going to go ahead and rewrite this up top. 2x minus 5 equals 1. So now that I have 5 being subtracted from 2x, I want to do the opposite, and I want to add 5 to both sides. When I do this, this cancels out, and I'm left with 2x equals 6. Now, my last thing here is to see what is being multiplied or divided by x, and that number's 2. So since it's being multiplied by 2, I want to do the opposite and divide by 2. And when I divide by 2, this cancels out, and I'm left with x equals 3. So, again, our answer here is x equals 3. If you want, you could have set up your equation and put it into InSolve, and again, you would have also gotten x equals 3. So that was number 8. Now we're going to go ahead and move on to word problem equations, and we're going to look at number 9. So for number 9, it says 2 different size wheelbarrows and shovels are being used to move dirt. Wheelbarrow A weighs 20 pounds empty with each shovel of dirt, adding 5 pounds to its total weight. And wheelbarrow B weighs 32 pounds empty, with each shovel of dirt adding 4.25 pounds to its total weight. How many shovels of dirt will make the total weight of the 2 wheelbarrows equal? So first off, let's go ahead and look at wheelbarrow A. It weighs 20 pounds empty, with each shovel of dirt adding 5 pounds to its total weight. So here, wheelbarrow A weighs 20 pounds, okay? And each shovel of dirt that we are adding, so I'm adding 5 pounds to its total weight. Remember, each shovel of dirt weighs 5 pounds. So here, this lets us know that the x belongs with the 5. So this is 20 plus 5x, and this is equal to wheelbarrow B. And it weighs 32 pounds empty. And each shovel of dirt adding 4.25 pounds. So again, each shovel of dirt is adding 4.25 pounds. So this is letting us know that the X goes with the 4.25. And again, we are adding this. So plus 4.25x. Now that we have our equation set up, we want to go ahead and identify which one of our x's is smaller. Is it the 5x or the 4.25x? 4.25 is smaller than 5, so we're going to go ahead and actually move this over. Since 4.25x is positive, to cancel it out and move it over, we are going to subtract this to both sides. When I subtract this, I get 20 plus 5 minus 4.25 is going to give us 0.75. So this is 0.75x. And since this cancels out, I'm just left with 32. Now, now that I have my x's on one side, I want to move my constants over to the other. Here I have a positive 20 on the left, and I want to move this over, and I'm going to do this by subtracting 20 to both sides. When I do this, this cancels out, and I'm going to finish my equation on this side. I'm left with 0.75x equals 32 minus 20, which is 12. Now I want to see what is being multiplied or divided to x. Right now, x is being multiplied by 0.75, so I'm going to divide by 0.75 on one side, on both sides. So here this cancels out, and I'm left with x equals 12 divided by 0.75, which gives us 16. So here x equals 16. So this means that 16 shovels of dirt will make the total weight of the wheelbarrows equal to each other. Next, we have number 10. So for number 10, it says video store A charges a $15 account setup fee and $175 per movie rental. Video store B charges a $750 account setup fee and $225 per movie rental. What number of movie rentals will make the total cost of renting movies from video store A equal to the total cost of renting movies from store or video store B? So I'm going to come up with my two equations. I have A and I have B, and we want to know when they're going to be equal to each other. So when I look at video store A, they charge a $15 account setup fee. So I'm going to have 15. The word and means we are adding $175 per movie rental. Remember, words like per, each, every, those are words that indicate X. So I'm taking plus 1.75x. And this is equal to video store B. They charge a $750 account setup fee. And means we are adding $225 per movie rental. Remember, per means X. So plus 2.25x. So now we're going to go ahead and solve this. So we again want to see which one of our x's is smaller. Is it 175x or 225x? 175 is smaller than 225, so I'm going to subtract 175x to both sides to cancel this out. On the left side, I am now left with 15, and this equals 750, and 225 minus 175 gives us 0.5. So plus 0.5x. Now I have 750, and I want to move it over and combine it with 15 because I already have all of my x's on one side. So now, since 750 is positive, to move this over, I'm going to subtract 750 to both sides. When I do this, this cancels out, and I'm left with 0.5x, and 15 minus 7.5 is going to give us 7.5. So I have 7.5 equals 0.5x. Now, my last step is to see what is being multiplied or divided by x, and I have 0.5 multiplying x, so I want to do the opposite of multiplication, which is division, and I'm going to divide by 0.5 on both sides. When I do this, I'm left with x equals 7.5 divided by 0.5, is going to give us 15. So here x equals 15. It's going to take 15 movie rentals for the total cost of renting movies from store A to equal the total cost at store B. So let's look at our last problem, and it says Keith is in a hot air balloon that is 200 feet above the ground and is ascending 1.5 feet per second. Erica is in a hot air balloon that is 548 feet above the ground and descending 1 2/5 feet per second. After how many seconds will the hot air balloons be the same number of feet above the ground? So my first suggestion is going to be to convert these mixed numbers into decimals. And remember, when we are taking our mixed numbers, it's your whole number, so 1 plus your fraction, which is a half, and include your decimal in your calculator. So 1 plus control divide, 1 on top, 2 on the bottom with the decimal point, and we get 1.5. Then I have 1 plus 2 over 5 with the decimal point for this one here. So I'm going to put 1.5 here. And 1 2/5 with the decimal is going to give us 1.4. So let's go ahead and look at Keith's hot air balloon first. So Keith is 200 feet above the ground. So that's his starting point. So I'm going to put 200. And it is ascending. Remember, ascending means we are going up. So we're going to be adding 1.5 feet per second. This word per lets us know that the 1.5 should get an x plus 1.5x. Then this is equal to Erica. Erica is 548 feet above the ground. And she is descending. So that means she's going down, which means we should be subtracting 1.4 feet per second. And that word per each every indicates x. Now let's go ahead and solve. So first I want to see which one of my variables is smaller. Is it 1.5x or is it negative 1.4x? Negative 1.4 is smaller than 1.5, so I'm going to do the opposite of subtracting and I'm going to add 1.4x to both sides. When I do this, this cancels out, and on the left I'm left with 200 plus 1.5 plus 1.4 is 2.9x, and this equals 548. Now that I have all of my x's on one side, I want to see what is being added or subtracted to that, and that number is 200. And since it's a positive 200 to move this over, I want to now subtract 200 to both sides. This is going to cancel out, and I'm left with 2.9x. Now, this equals 548 minus 200, which is going to give us 348. Now, our last step is to see what is being multiplied or divided to x. And right now, x is being multiplied by 2.9, so I want to do the opposite and divide by 2.9. When I divide by 2.9, this cancels out, and I'm left with x equals 348 divided by 2.9, which is going to give us 120. So x equals 120, which means that our answer here is B. So that was all about equations. Again, if you are not comfortable by solving by hand, make sure that you're at least setting up the equation and putting in your equation into InSolve to get your answer. If you are deciding to solve by hand, again, I would just double check that your answer is correct by using InSolve. And again, that completes all about equations.